Iron Mike Tyson, the once considered baddest man on the planet, whose impact on boxing is still felt today. As you can imagine, it will be difficult to select the best year of Kid Dynamite's career, being that he has 3 years that could take the cake. These 3 years are 1986, 87, and 88, the years that most find to be Tyson's prime. To assist you in seeing my dilemma, I'm going to go over these 3 years briefly within my criteria. In 1986, Mike Tyson fought 13 times. I'll tell you about the most notable bouts. Jesse the Boogeyman Ferguson had one loss against the proven Carl the Truth Williams, in which he fought valiantly. Iron Mike got him out in 6. The next 2 notable bouts were 17 days apart, in which Tyson was taken the distance by both James Quick Tillis and Mitch Blood Green. Kid Dynamite showed he could hang down the stretch and was more of a knockout artist. Marvis Frazier had one loss, and it was to Larry Holmes. After this loss, he rebounded well and entered the Tyson Fight the Underdog. Tyson marked his fastest career knockout at 30 seconds and effectively ended Marvis's career. Jose Ribalta nearly took Iron Mike the distance before he was dropped with 1.5 minutes to go in the final round. And last, but certainly not least, Trevor Berbick was the reigning, defending WBC champion, and Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history with his destruction over Berbick, a record he still holds today. It was also significant in that he dethroned his predecessor under custody model Floyd Patterson for the honor. And that wraps up 86. 13 fights, of which 11 were stoppages. He showed he could go the distance and box well on the other 2 with unanimous decisions. Some of the fights were fairly soon after others. His final fight of the year was against a champion, a final boss sort of journey, if you will. Entertainment value. Overall, he looked great on the year and well on his way to winning the unification tournament. And do please keep in mind that he did this starting at the age of 19 until ending the year as champion at 20. In 1987, Tyson fought 4 times. The first was a unification bout against WBA champion James Bone Crusher Smith. It was another hard-fought, well-contested display for Tyson, in which he extended his range to go the full 12 and secure the win. Next up was a defense against former WBC champ Pinklin Thomas, who was dethroned by Trevor Berbick. Tyson vanquished Thomas in 6 rounds and became the first man to drop him. Up next was the measuring stick, IBF champion Tony TNT Tucker. Tucker took Tyson the full 12 rounds as well, and Tyson again showed his ability to box well over time and perform well against vastly larger opponents. Tucker boxed very well himself in a unanimous decision loss to Iron Mike. Last up was former amateur rival of sorts, Tyrell Biggs. The 2 had history, and Biggs was looking to gain a mental edge by capitalizing on it. He learned that you should never laugh at Mike Tyson, and that you should never try to embarrass Mike Tyson in the longest 7 rounds of his career. And that's it for 87. 4 fights against championship caliber talent in which he emerged victorious. Entertainment value. Overall, Tyson looked even sharper than he did the previous year, coming into his own as a great champion. There was only one piece missing from his title, the lineage held by Michael Spinks. In 1988, Mike Tyson fought 3 fights. The first was against the Easton Assassin, Larry Holmes, who held the division under his fist for the first half of the 80s. Iron Mike became the only man to ever stop Holmes, ripping the torch from his hands and securing a sort of revenge for his idol, Muhammad Ali. The next fight was against former WBA champ Tony TNT Tubbs, in which Tyson buried Tubbs in the second round. The final bout was the one the boxing world had waited for, the battle for the lineage and the true undisputed title. Mike Tyson floored Spinks and the boxing world when he easily dispatched up the undefeated man who brought the jinx. Tyson's aura alone looked to have beaten Michael Spinks before the bout even started. With this win, there was no question about it. Iron Mike Tyson was the baddest man on the planet. The only name at the top. Unopposed. It would take a new generation of super heavyweights to ultimately upset his reign. It's worth noting that Tyson unified the division in the same way that similar small warriors Smoke and Joe Frazier did. He brought together the alphabet titles, staking his claim to the lineage, and then snagged the lineage right from its holder. In beating Muhammad Ali, Frazier beat the man who held the lineage and was still considered the best. Tyson did the same by beating Larry Holmes, the considered best heavyweight, and Spinks, the lineal champion. Tyson may have been more impressive than Frazier too, in that he won the titles one by one and had more defenses against stiffer and bigger competition. Now, I wanted to save Hindsight for the end because it will play the biggest role in the final decision. 86 is the year Tyson bursted onto the scene and became the youngest heavyweight champ. 87 was the year he staked his claim to the lineage by unifying the alphabet titles, beating 2 champions, a former champion, and squaring away unfinished business with an undefeated Olympic gold medalist. 88 was the year he squashed all questions as to who the true best heavyweight was when he beat the man who ran the division before him, a former champion, and the lineal champion who ended the reign of the division's super champion. All by knockout. 88 was the year he became the baddest man on the planet and secured the eternal love of boxing fans. Plain and simple, 88 is when he absolutely peaked. Before we conclude, all this talk of Tyson has me in the mood to discuss the 2 primary narratives surrounding his career. That and a discussion I had in a comment section a few days ago got my brain rolling. It'll probably be the next video and we'll cover this content in further detail. So, the time has come. No more hiding behind extensive explanations and rundowns. No more ducking. Just what was the best career year for Iron Mike Tyson? One last build up before the answer though.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
All right, everyone. The undisputed best career year for Mike Tyson is